Welcome back. If you've been following along, I got off birth control around a month ago now, and I've been documenting how the four phases of my hormone cycle have been going. So now we are on the last phase, which is the luteal phase, and I'm post-ovulation. I haven't had my period in I had my period like 20 days ago, maybe something like that. And as you know, when you start your period, your uterine lining sheds, you bleed. You move into the follicular phase, which is when your hormones send a signal to your ovaries to start producing eggs. Only one ends up actually maturing. And when you reach ovulation, your ovary releases the mature egg, and then it travels down our body to meet up with any potential sperm, if there is any there. And then in the luteal phase, which is where I'm at now, that follicle that once housed the mature egg begins producing the hormone progesterone. Progesterone helps prepare the uterus for potential pregnancy by thickening the uterine lining. And then if I'm not pregnant, which pretty positive I'm not, the uterine lining will shed, and then I menstruate, which will hopefully be happening in the next 10-ish days. I've experienced that my period usually lasts, there's usually a big gap between periods. Usually it goes I go 35-40 days without a period, so we'll see what happens. But with the increase in progesterone, what's supposed to happen in your body, what usually happens with people, is they're likely to experience bloating, tender breasts, and fatigue. You can also feel a mood shift, and increase in food cravings usually happen. If you remember, this is the week before your period, so I usually feel terrible. Also very antisocial. I never really want to do anything, which is super unfortunate because I do have a lot of plans this week. It's right before the holidays. It's right before I'm about to go home to my parents' house for Christmas. So I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people, which is just not really good timing, but we'll push through. And it is really important to understand that I do feel this way before my period. Most of the time I just completely forget and I hate myself, and then I have my period and I'm like, wow, oh my god, that wasn't me, that was just my hormones. I love myself, are you kidding me? So it's a fun cycle to go through every month. But now that I have been kind of tracking and trying to record when I feel a certain way on my period, it is a helpful reminder that we do have hormones and they do cycle through different times of the month, and that does cause our mood and attitude and willingness to go out shift around, which is crazy. But yeah, we'll see how I feel in these upcoming days, hoping that I do have some time to rest and recover and really let myself do what my body needs to do before I actually do get my period. But we'll see how I feel. So it's been a couple days since I last recorded, and I wanted to film for a second because I am about to go to dinner, if you may or may not be able to tell. And I definitely don't want to go. I am gonna go because it's one of my friend's birthday dinners and I should go. There's no reason for me not to go. Otherwise I'd just be sitting at home. But just how nice does that sound sometimes, you know? Don't know if it's because I'm about to get my period now in 4 or 5 days, but I definitely feel just kind of bleh, and I definitely rather would stay inside tonight. It's also raining in New York, so it just, all of that is not lining up for a successful outing in my book, but I will persist. I'm not sure what people do when they get in these situations where they want to listen to their hormones in their body and what it's telling them, but they have prior obligations. So I'm just gonna push though. It's gonna be fun once I get there, you know? That's what I'm gonna tell myself until I actually arrive. All right, we'll see how it goes. So it's now the next day, and I'm actually really happy that I did go out to dinner last night, even though I was feeling like I could just crawl into my bed and lay there forever. It was really good for me to get out and socialize. I feel like it kind of took me out of how I was feeling, and I ended up having a lot of fun. So if you need to go somewhere and you don't want to, just repeat to yourself it's going to be fun when you get there over and over again until you arrive, and that actually works. And then you go and you'll actually have a good time. Most of the time. Now, I think 3 days until should be menstruating, and I feel like this phase of my period, the end of the luteal phase, is the one that I've always felt, whether I was on birth control or not, where I feel bloated, I feel really down and depressed, and I feel like the world is ending pretty much. And every month, I swear, I then realize, oh, I'm just getting my period every time it happens. But this week, always, I felt like on the hormones or off the hormones. And it's funny because now that I am thinking about it so much, and I've been making these videos, and I've been tracking the way that my hormones are moving throughout my hormonal cycle and how I should be feeling, or how most people usually feel, I didn't forget that it was my period this time. I feel like I was like, oh yeah, I know that I'm gonna be feeling this way. It's okay to have these thoughts. These thoughts are normal during this time because my hormones are low. Because when your hormones are low, this is how your body will react, and this is how you feel. This is what your mood's like when your hormones are low. So that definitely was really comforting, and I'm happy that I actually thought about that before. And really, this overall, tracking my period and really thinking about how I should be feeling, what's happening in my body during the different cycles, has been really helpful to me to understand where my body is doing things normally and where it's not, like ovulating versus not ovulating. I definitely feel like, though, now that I'm off birth control and I've gone through this almost full hormone cycle off birth control, it's not as scary as it sounded like before I got birth control. I know that some people have been on birth control for like 5, 10, even 15 years, and getting off of it can feel very intimidating, but it's definitely not as crazy as I once built it up to be in my head. And the more I learn about my period, and the more that I can learn about ways to work with my period and the different stages of my cycle that I'm in to make myself feel better, like for example, the different types of workouts that you can do when you're ovulating versus when you're menstruating, really make me feel hopeful about the ways that I can kind of live with my period so that it's not as big of an impact in my life and doesn't affect my moods so heavily or affect the way that I live my life. So I'm excited to see where I can optimize if I can. But if anyone's been watching these last 4 videos where I've gone through the whole month, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I think I'm gonna end the video here. This was definitely a fun way to track what my life has been like post birth control. So thanks for watching.